Hey everyone, and welcome back to Underdog Investing. So today I'm going to talk about ChargePoint. More specifically, I'm going to go through some very interesting articles which I found very helpful in making me realize that ChargePoint is potentially going to be a very successful company as well as a successful investment for those who do put money into it. So finally, after that I'm going to talk about the stock price and what I'm planning to do. And before I jump into this, I'll be very grateful if you could smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for future updates. So let's jump into it. Firstly, let's talk about the total addressable market for EV charging. So the electrification of mobility is happening at record rates, presenting a tremendous addressable market for ChargePoint. So EVs are estimated to be 10% of new vehicle sales in 2025, so that's only in 5 years' time. And then 5 years after that, so in 2030, the EVs are expected to be 30% of vehicles sold in the US as well as in Europe. And this is compared to 2.6% in 2019. So you can see that's an exponential growth rate in terms of EVs being sold compared with internal combustion engine vehicles. So cumulative EV charging infrastructure investment in US and Europe is projected to be about $60 billion by 2030, and just 10 years later in 2040 that's expected to be almost triple, or actually more than triple, at $192 billion. So the way I see this is basically electric vehicles are inevitable. They are going to replace internal combustion engine vehicles, and when that happens you're going to need a charging infrastructure. So that's why companies like ChargePoint, who aren't really competing to sell electric vehicles, but they're going to be the ones who are providing the energy to these vehicles, these companies are poised to win. So that's the first thing to talk about. Now let's move on to some of the articles. So the first one is by Motley Fool, and the other one's by stockmarket.com, and I found these both very helpful, so I'm just going to go through some of the important points. So starting with the Joe Biden's new $2 trillion stimulus infrastructure plan. So this $2 trillion package includes about $620 billion allocated to transportation infrastructure, and more than a quarter of that, so about $175 billion, is dedicated to the EV sector. And this includes installing 500,000 charging stations and electrifying bus fleets and government vehicles. So you can see that they're really injecting loads of money, billions and billions of dollars, into charging infrastructure. So that's why companies like ChargePoint are going to do very well, regardless of what happens. I mean, EVs are inevitable. The fact that the government is really pushing the electrification of vehicles, companies like ChargePoint are going to do well. So ChargePoint is the #1 charging network in North America by a significant margin. If we were to compare, ChargePoint boasts a whopping 73% market share of the networked level 2 charging, and that compares to 8% share that Blink commands, according to the Alternative Fuel Data Center. So if you look at that, the EV charging infrastructure is going to be extremely successful. They're going to have a total addressable market of $192 billion by 2040. And you can see that ChargePoint is already has a significant market share, more than 70% market share of this EV charging infrastructure network. So you can see why people are so bullish on ChargePoint, because at such an early stage they've got so much market share. It's going to be very difficult for other companies, for example Blink, to actually catch up to that. So that's another reason why I'm so bullish on ChargePoint. So again, just reiterating the market share, so more than 70% market share of North American level 2 charging network. The other thing is the company just announced its initiative with NATSO, which is the trade association representing the travel plaza and truck stop industry. They basically will utilize $1 billion in public and private funds to expand charging at more than 4,000 travel plazas and fuel stops in the next decade. So not only do they have a significant market share, but that market share is likely to actually grow further, and they're actually likely to capture even more as they expand over the next decade and move into things like travel plazas. So just some finishing statements before we look at the stock price. So all else being equal, ChargePoint should do well no matter who comes out on top in the EV market. After all EV manufacturers will need EV charging infrastructure. And ChargePoint is a dominant player in this field. If you believe that growth in electrification of the transportation sector is set to continue, it makes sense to put ChargePoint stock on your watch list right now. So could we be looking at a multi-bagger in the years to come? And I believe we definitely will be. So let's just finish off by looking at the stock price. So you can see that today we are at $28.11 and it is Monday the 5th of April and we're near the end of the trading day. We haven't had an amazing day today, but if we have a look at the 5-day chart, it becomes a bit clearer. So you can see we've actually had a 55% rally in the past 5 days. So having a 12 to 13% pullback is very normal for this. If we have a look at the 6-month chart, you can see that we've actually been having a steady decline, and this is one of the most recent rallies actually since that long decline for the past few months. And the reason for the rally is mainly because of the news of the Joe Biden's stimulus package. But yeah, regardless of what happens, I see this company doing well in the future based on the fact that we have a replacement of ICE vehicles by electric vehicles, and that the rate of replacement is exponential, and these EVs are going to need a charging infrastructure, and ChargePoint has a significant market share which I think will continue to grow. So that's why I think ChargePoint is a good stock to own, and I think we are at a decent price, so I'm planning to add some ChargePoint. I'm a bit gutted that I wasn't able to add at around $20, but I think I'm going to try and add around these levels, and if there's any further dips I'll probably buy a bit more. But yeah, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.